Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Biggs from Arizona's 5th Congressional District. I am so happy that you joined us today, and I'm grateful for my next guest, good friend, good advocate for the family and for religious freedom, Cathi Herrod, president of the Center for Arizona Policy. That's a nonprofit advocacy organization committed to promoting and defending the foundational values of life, marriage and family, and religious freedom. A total of 171 CAP-supported bills have been passed into law, and Cathi is an award-winning public policy leader. Arizona newspapers have recognized her as one of the 10 most influential leaders and as one of the key people, quote, with the juice, close quote, at the Arizona Capitol. Yeah, well, that's good because she brings the juice, folks.
Someday.
She's the recipient of the Family Champion Award from Focus on the Family, the William Wilberforce Award from Students for Life of America, and the Deborah Award from Family Life Radio. Alliance Defending Freedom recognized Cathi and CAP with the Alliance Award in 2014. Cathi joined Center for Arizona Policy as Legislative Counsel in 1997, and in 2005, she became CAP's president. Cathi earned her Bachelor of Arts degree with honors and her JD from the University of Texas at Austin. Now, there was a school that is really, Austin's really changed since you were there, Cathi. I could tell you that. Wow. Anyway, Cathi
it
and
was
her
liberal
husband
then,
Mike,
but not like it is now.
That's right. Cathi and her husband Mike reside in Phoenix. They have two adult children. Cathi, thanks for joining me today. Glad to have you with me.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for your leadership.
Oh, great. And look, let's talk about 2020 has been a heck of a year, right? I mean, we go back and you look at it and say, well, we started off with an impeachment, and now about almost 2 weeks ago, things changed, whether it was in the campaign or whether it was anywhere else in this country, because we looked at the Supreme Court, I think disproportionately so. But when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed 2 weeks ago, it changed the dynamic of the election. It also changed the potential dynamic of the United States Supreme Court. So what does it take? What is the process for an individual to be nominated and then confirmed to the United States Supreme Court?
Well, it's quite a process, and I remember sitting at home and hearing the news about Justice Ginsburg and thinking, really, right now? This is when this is happening? But you have to be extremely well credentialed. You have to have a significant academic background from your law school time. You have to usually have clerked at the U.S. Supreme Court. Most of our justices have been judges at an appellate court level before they're nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court. So you have to go through an incredible vetting process. Then you have to, of course, get a majority vote in the United States Senate after the president has nominated you. So you have to have had a brilliant, outstanding legal career before you're ever even considered for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, and that's right. And so, and then once you're going through the process, it's really changed in the last, let's say, 60 years on that process. And actually, since Sandra Day O'Connor was confirmed, it's probably, I would say, changed even more radically, where we see everything from Robert Bork to Clarence Thomas, and the penultimate of personal attacks on an incredibly qualified jurist with Brett Kavanaugh just 2 years ago. So when we get somebody like an Amy Coney Barrett, who tell me, without me telling you what I think, you tell me what you think about Amy Coney Barrett as a nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, I was thinking, I went to law school probably about 25 years after Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and maybe 15 years before Amy Coney Barrett. So kind of in at a top law school. And so to think that my law school class was about half male and female, so I didn't have the issues maybe that a Ruth Bader Ginsburg or a Sandra Day O'Connor had. But to look at Amy Coney Barrett, for me personally, wow, there's a woman who shares my judicial philosophy. There's a woman who has a track record of being a woman of faith, of being committed to her family, and being an outstanding jurist as far as someone who looks at the role of a judge to be one who interprets the law. There are numerous quotes from Amy Coney Barrett that she's not a policymaker, that's up to you guys and the president, and that she's the type of, not just female, but she's the type of individual that we want on the U.S. Supreme Court and that she will be in the mold of a Justice Antonin Scalia, who of course she clerked with.
Yeah,
I'm just thrilled.
Yeah, me too. I was so excited when I was advocating for Amy Coney Barrett, but I was so excited because when you talk about exceptional, I mean, if you just look at this person, not on her professional life, also on her family life, her character, everything about her screams uniquely. I can't really put it in the right word. Wonderful. I mean, she's a great human being. So she was number one in her law school class, right? At Notre Dame. She was, I think she was the editor of the law journal there. I mean, she clerked for a federal appellate court judge and then for Justice Scalia. I mean, you start going down this. She was a law professor, top-rated law professor. She is published in law journals all over the country. I mean, her career is so remarkable, not just as a jurist, but also as an educator. And so we also consider her personality and who she is, great mom, a mom who's doing great things. Her character is impeccable. And so we're left with what the left, I hate to put that way, all that remains for the left to really attack are bogus things, like they've attacked her Catholic faith. Tell me, as someone who advocates for religious freedom, tell me about your opinion about this attack on Amy Coney Barrett's faith and what it will do to further denigrate our religious liberties in the United States of America.
Well, absolutely. I tweeted the other day that when the media says that Amy Coney Barrett is a devout Catholic, that the intent of that is 100% to demean and denigrate the woman because of her faith, to make beliefs. And she's anything but. Her belief system is very similar to that of many people of faith throughout this country. There's no religious test for the U.S. Supreme Court. Her faith should not even come into the consideration of a senator trying to decide whether to confirm or not confirm her. But for those of us who care about those things, we know that that says a lot about her character and that she is committed to her faith. And for those who are concerned about, we feel like, are we back in the days of John F. Kennedy, where the concern that she's going to apply her faith to the law? But she's had some very clear writings that her personal conduct, she certainly will conform to her faith, but she will not apply that to the law. And if that becomes an issue, she would recuse herself. A judge should recuse himself from a case if somehow their faith is not going to permit them to allow to rule fairly and impartially on interpreting the law. So it's simply an attack, and it should offend anyone who has really a belief system or no belief, that we still have a First Amendment that gives us the right to freely believe what we choose to believe.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. And now tell me, with this attack on her religion, I mean, you went back to JFK when he was running for president. There was criticism about his Catholic faith. We've actually seen other judges who have had their faith questioned periodically. But is this an example of a broader attack on religious liberty in the United States today?
Absolutely. And I think many people don't realize how threatened religious freedom really is in our country. And that the intent of, if you want to call them secularists, the left, whatever you want to call those who oppose religious freedom, it's to put us in our silos. I often say, when you hear the term, well, the First Amendment is about the freedom to worship. No, the First Amendment is not about the freedom to worship, because what they mean by that is within the four walls of your home, within the four walls of your church or your ward or your synagogue. The First Amendment gives us the right to freely exercise our beliefs, and that's in all walks of life. And most people of faith believe that they are to go into all the world and that they are to share their faith. And so that so the freedom is very much threatened. And in fact, the U.S. Supreme Court on November 4th, the day after the election, has a very important religious freedom case before it out of Philadelphia.
Tell us about that case.
So it's very important that we have a Justice Barrett.
Yeah, tell us about that case, Cathi, because I think it's pertinent to know if you. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a case where Philadelphia said that A foster care agency could not discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. So for Catholic Social Services that has a belief that marriage is between one man and one woman, and that they should place children in homes with married heterosexual couples, not in same-sex households. So the city of Philadelphia told Catholic Social Services, well, you can no longer be placing children in foster care. And so they had a choice. Either they follow their beliefs, how they operate as an agency, or they stop doing foster care placements. So Catholic Social Services is not allowed to place children that are in the foster care system with families in Philadelphia. This has happened in other places. And so what that means is needy children, children that need a home, are left wanting. And so this is going to be whether the current dogma of the day as far as same-sex marriage is going to say that organizations that are doing incredible work for the community, taking care of children, have to make that decision. And that's before the U.S. Supreme Court on the Wednesday after the election.
Yeah, and if the Senate does not get their work done on the confirmation process, which is the advice and consent. So you might hear the term advice and consent for those who are listening. That is the confirmation process, is advise and consent and tell the president yay or nay on this individual. If they don't do that, then that's going to be a 4-4 split on the Supreme Court. And the question is going to come down to probably Chief Justice Roberts, where he falls, and nobody ever knows where Chief Justice Roberts falls. That is a critical case. That's an important case. Another important case that they will probably have, in my opinion, within probably 30 to 45 days of the November 3rd election will be correctives and constitutional questions regarding the outcome of that election. I think that's something we have to acknowledge, that's looming over our head, whether we like it or not. And so I think you're right, Cathi. It's so critical that we fill that seat earlier rather than later. So another attack.
Well,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Congressman, when you mentioned the role of advice and consent, that should be on the merits of the candidate, not on any political views that a senator has. And we have lost that in the confirmation process. And I think one of the more noteworthy things about Amy Coney Barrett is the Harvard law professor who clerked with her at the same time and penned a piece last weekend that she deserves to be on the Supreme Court, even though he disagrees with everything about her judicial philosophy. So this is clearly a woman with the merit and the credentials, and the senator should only be ruling on advice and consent. And then, of course, when you mention the election outcome potentially being before them, we know in Arizona, who we elect as our U.S. senator could dramatically impact what happens in the future as well, because if Mark Kelly wins that seat, he would be taking that seat on November 30th. So any future, if Amy Coney Barrett's not confirmed by the time of the election, that could dramatically change whether we have a Senate that can confirm her.
No, that's exactly right.
My understanding, at least.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, that's due to a recent Arizona State Supreme Court case that came out about, I want to say April of this year, an unrelated matter. And they were ruling on the case before them, but it has impacts on the Martha McSally, Mark Kelly race as well. So let's get back to the advice and consent deal, because you're talking about qualifications. I think that's right. You're talking about the merits. So they criticized her faith. The other thing that I find that's despicable is they've criticized her family, because she and her husband adopted two children from Haiti. For Pete's sakes. I mean, how despicable is that? I mean, you go, what is wrong with these people? So, Cathi, talk to us a little bit about the personal attacks that seem to have been from the left. You've been the subject of personal attacks. I've been the subject of personal attacks. We get used to it in the arena, but bringing in the family is absolutely incredibly low. In fact, one individual said that for her, as a white woman, to have adopted two children of color from Haiti was essentially white colonialism. And this gets to what President Trump was talking about 2 weeks ago when he spoke to the National Archives, the critical race theory, and how that's infected things. Tell me about this attack on Amy Coney Barrett's family and what we might expect.
Well, for everyone to just stop and think, for someone to have the courage and and even the humility to put themselves in contention for a seat like that, knowing that their family is going to be attacked. So clearly the Barrett family had to know that there were going to be attacks. And at least, she was certainly vilified and attacked in 2017 when she got confirmed to the Court of Appeals. But to somehow criticize a woman and her husband who are taking care of two children, who have a heart to bring children into their lives. Of course, their youngest child is also with Down syndrome. So she is someone who is taking care of children in very unique ways. And that will be a unique perspective to have on the U.S. Supreme Court as well. They've said that she's going to be the first justice with elementary school age children, or at least as a female. That is significant. And so I just think that the courage that it takes, and to have her family behind her, and obviously it's a lovely family, and that obviously we need to be in prayer for her and her family, because who knows what's going to hit them. I mean, certainly Justice Kavanaugh did not know the attacks that were going to hit him before he was attacked, or go back to Clarence Thomas and the attacks on him. And so whatever the left is going to engineer and make up over the next couple of weeks, we'll see. But clearly the Barrett family is a solid family. They're a tight-knit family. Not only is she the mother of 7, she's also the oldest of 7 children in her family. So, because they've even attacked her, it's almost some like, oh, she's got a large family. Like there's something wrong with that. That's just, just amazing the things. And even, I don't get into the female, male, sexist thing, but, it's almost like, how many times do you hear that, well, Antonin Scalia was the father of 9 children, but somehow, she's a freak because she's this devout Catholic and 7 children and 2 from Haiti. And so she's just trying to, make, children of color white. I mean, it's ridiculous. It has no bearing on her, and people just try to make up things.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it really aggravates me. I mean, I think back to Dianne Feinstein, who has been the author of 2 of the biggest hit jobs in recent times. The Brett Kavanaugh hit job that she did and orchestrated, and despicable. But then she's the one who said the dogma runs deep in you to Amy Coney Barrett about her disparaging her religion. So she's Amy Coney Barrett. I think, though, in doing some of my research, I actually ran into somebody who dated Amy Coney Barrett back in high school. And I said, you got to tell me about her. He said, oh, man, she was fantastic back then, and she'll be great. So I have great confidence in her. I have less confidence, quite frankly, in my own branch of the government than her as a Supreme Court justice. And now, the last thing I would just say is, you wrote something recently. I want to say probably 5 days ago, and we're talking about you said it's called U.S. Senate should confirm Supreme Court nominee. Some of the criticism that's being leveled now, which I find absolutely intriguing, is that the president should hold off until after the election. Now, that doesn't even make sense, because were he to lose, there's no way in the world they would confirm a lame duck. They would say, well, no, now he's got to wait, the people have spoken. Is a president allowed to fulfill the full 4 years of their term, including nominating people to the United States Supreme Court? And what's your thoughts on the pending need for alacrity on the part of the Senate to confirm?
Well, a couple of things. First, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was confirmed in something like 42 days, Sandra Day O'Connor in, I think, 33 days, John Paul Stevens in 19 days. So it's not unusual to have a nominee confirmed in a shorter period of time. Amy Coney Barrett was thoroughly vetted 3 years ago. It does not take a long time to update the vetting of her background check. People know her. The senators are familiar with her. But on the precedent issue, what's getting lost in the media narrative especially is that actually the president and the Senate are following precedent, that 2020 is not 2016, that when the president and the Senate are the same party, something like 8 out of 10 times the justice has been confirmed in the last year of the president's term. When it's a different president from the Senate, a different party, like it was in 2016 with Obama and a Republican-controlled Senate, the justice is hardly ever confirmed. So this is, again, when it's the same party, they confirm. When it's opposite parties, they don't confirm. So this is the precedent that's out there and that people are overlooking. This is not 2016, and it's not an unusually short period of time. So absolutely, especially when so many important pending cases. We know that the Supreme Court goes into, their term begins the first Monday in October every year. They've scheduled a number of cases. As you pointed out earlier, it's 8 people. You could have an even vote. That's not fair to the parties that are before the Supreme Court that finally got their cases taken. They deserve to have 9 justices.
No, you're right on. You're right on, Cathi, as always. And I appreciate your insight and information on this. I know you're busy. You're traveling the state, doing some good work out there. And my closing comment would be this. It was highly unusual before about 80 years ago for there to be this much controversy over a U.S. Supreme Court nominee. And the reason that was true is that for the first 130, 150 years of this country, the court operated as it was meant to, as the founders said, is the least powerful branch of government. But as our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have discovered, and in some cases even on our side of the aisle, if you can't get your policy through, they take it to the court, and legislatively active or judicial activists on the bench have begun enacting policy. And that's why Amy Coney Barrett's judicial philosophy as an originalist, as a textualist, as somebody who understands she's not supposed to enact policy from the bench, is so critical. And maybe it would help restore the balance of power in this country, the separation of powers, if she and others would all adopt that same kind of judicial philosophy. So that's my little rant. But hey, Cathi, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you soon out in Arizona.
So thank you, Congressman. Appreciate you.